Hello and welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Tuesday. It is How to Tarot Tuesday, and what that is it's a weekly video that I post here on my channel. The beginning of the video, we discuss the symbols in one of the 78 card tarot, and we go in order from the beginning. So, this week we are doing the Seven of Pentacles. And what it is I go ahead and I pick 3 tarot decks that I think best represent this card. And the beginning of the video, we talk about the meanings of that card. After we've talked about the symbols, the second part of the video is where you, the watcher, get to choose from one of the 3 tarot decks. And we'll go ahead and do a spread to see how this card manifests in your life. If you ever want to jump straight to the reading, the timestamps are listed in the description box below, as are the names and authors of the decks that I use. Now, today I am going to go ahead and clarify the read with some cards that are oracle cards. They're called the Look Within cards, and they're really quite beautiful. They have really neat expressions on them, and I've really enjoyed using them. This is a new deck that I just got recently, and it's a new deck that I've just gotten recently, so I've been starting to use them, and my goal is to kind of clarify the decks, the tarot with oracle cards. Now, one thing that I'll mention is that with the Look Within cards, the cards that you see here have been, I purchased them off Etsy, but my deck, the deck that you see here, has been modified. There's very few decks that I make any changes to. Modification is when you cut a deck or use, it's not in the same format as when you originally received it. What I did is that the deck had come with embossing, and that's where there's a powder that's heated to become kind of like an edging to the sides of the card. And it's no fault to the maker at all. It's just kind of a personal preference for me. I don't mind edging as long as it is well embossed and as long as it's not flaking off. If I can see that, the edging is kind of leaving a glitter behind it, that's something that I'm not too fond of. So I did go ahead and cut the edges off. But, but most of the time this deck does come with a gold edging that's really quite lovely. So just bear in mind if you do decide to purchase that deck, that is an additional feature of those cards. I did also, I like to sew bags, so I did sew a bag for the oracle deck, and I made it a little too wide, so I ended up with a stripe. So it's a stripe with dots, which I tend to do a lot. I like that style for some reason. But enough blabbing. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the reading. One last caveat is that if anytime we read, I like to think of it as like dream interpretation. I'm just looking at the symbols. It's just pictures on paper. If you feel like the message is not resonating, by all means, there's a saying in card reading, take what resonates and leave the rest. So, if you don't feel like the messages are resonating, just take what messages do pertain to you, and then everything else, just leave behind. But we'll go ahead and get started. So we've gone through most of the pentacles so far, and now we are at the Seven of Pentacles. And the Seven of Pentacles, just like all the other pentacles suit, it's a very industrious card. You see someone in a tunic, kind of leaning on a staff, and he's looking at this bush that's growing pentacles, right? One of the pentacles is kind of fallen to the ground, and it looks like, a harvest that has, ripened and is starting to, come to fruition. Now, the person does look like he's not actively working. He looks like he's leaning on his hands, and he's kind of looking down at the pentacles as if he's evaluating. And in the background, you see that it's very much a natural scene. The person looks like a farmer, and it looks like he's just observing his crop, right? So, first and foremost, the Seven of Pentacles, has kind of a dual meaning. It being the seven, if you look at any of the suits from 1 to 10, seven is closer to the culmination end of the suit, right? So you've come this farmer's come a long way. We've been through the ace, which is kind of like planting the seed. And we've been through the 2, and we've been through the scarcity of the 5, and the balance of the 6, and the paying back of debts. So here you kind of get the essence that with him looking down at the coins, you can kind of get a sense of two different meanings. The first meaning is that he looks like those are his pentacles, right? Like he's actually, collecting a harvest, right? But the other side of it is he does have a look of scrutiny on his face, as if he's determining whether or not, there's enough, or whether or not he's kind of looking at it to see if it's growing, if it's growing well. So first off, the first meaning usually does mean slow and steady growth. The pentacles are always a slow moving suit. It's not like, fast action like the wands, or quick thought like the swords. So pentacles are really about the tangible and the real world, and what you can feel and touch. It's about money, it's about food, it's about shelter. So the first meaning is it's definitely taking stock of something that you've invested in, or something that you've grown, right? Something that's yours. And you're determining whether or not it's enough, or if it's not enough. So a lot of times the first thing is that it definitely means assessment. It means, you can tell this person looks like he's labored over his garden, and he's starting to see the fruits of his labor. But when you're evaluating it, you can kind of determine, okay, what's the progress of this? You're reviewing how it's grown, the progress. So, sometimes when you're looking at fruit, you can think of it like a farmer card, where maybe if you run a vineyard, you have to look at the grapes and see, okay, are they the right kind? Did they grow well? Has there been drought? Has there been too much sun? Too much water? Is the product what you expected it to be, right? The other thing is that it really does mean pausing to evaluate. A lot of times with pentacles, this could be a business venture. I kind of look at the 7 as thinking kind of like, if you're the owner of a company, like a startup company, the 7 of Pentacles could really be like, okay, evaluating, I've gotten it off the ground, I've created this much product, what's the quality of the product, am I selling enough, is there too much surplus, is there too much overhead? The 7 of Pentacles is a great pausing point to look at how far you've come and determine whether or not it's doing well, right? The other thing is that sometimes, it being a 7, you're pretty far along. You're 3 pentacles away from being the 10, right? And sometimes that can be like steering a very big ship. You started off small, and then as you get bigger, sometimes in the middle you have to make decisions about how to steer, or should I go with a different in the same vein, like, if you're making a product and maybe something doesn't turn out right, maybe you have to change providers of the materials you use. Or you could think of it in a financial sense. Maybe these are stocks, right? A lot of people get really freaked out when stocks are not bringing the dividends fast enough. But sometimes you don't want to be quick to sell, because sometimes you have to write it out. Now, so in that sense, it's really looking at where you've been, where you are now, the quality of it, and just kind of doing an analysis and evaluation of where you stand and where you want to go to continue to grow. Now, in that same vein, this card really does apply to us nowadays if you're a business owner, or if you're an employee. You know, the times that we live in with the virus affecting our commerce, affecting our economy. It can really be, the other thing that it really can mean is like, okay, how much stock have I put into this, right? And that could be a job. It doesn't even have to be a business that you own. It could be like, well, I've spent this many years doing this job, and now everything's turned on its head because of social distancing and things like that. I really do think this card is very crucial for right now with what we're experiencing with our economy, you know, because people have to adapt, right? And it's not like, you know, again, like steering a big ship, it's not like you can turn on a dime, you know. If you had, you know, you started off the year thinking that you were going to have the same economy that we had last year, and now you have to make all these different changes. And there are some businesses that are really thriving in this. There are some businesses that really aren't, because, you know, things changed, and now all of a sudden you have, you know, a surplus of something that may not be, you know, sold, or maybe a long time before they're sold, right? So it's about steering. It's about saying, okay, you know, this product, what can I do? What can I do going forward? And where is this going to lead me? So the other thing is that it can really be about earning results. You know, so it can be enjoying the first fruits of your labor. Again, maybe you did start a business, or you've been working really hard at something. If you see this next to like the Nine of Cups, or if you see this next to even Ace of Cups, Ace of Pentacles, it would really mean that you planted a seed and you've watched it grow and you've come a long way. So it is kind of like that plateau kind of, you know, area. You climbed a really big hill, you're starting to see what you've created, and it gives you a chance to kind of look at it and discern. Now, in an education sense, this could very well be, you know, it could be you going to school. A lot of times when you go to college, you might, you know, start the first 2 years, you know, just with an open major. And then after 2 years, as you start to get specialized, you can say, oh, okay, well, you know, I got all the intro classes done. Let me pause and think. What do I really want to, you know, what do I want my major to be, right? So it really can be a time of just pausing to, you know, to reflect. It can be also, you know, kind of a middle ground. Maybe you've been working towards a certain promotion and you're halfway there, but you are starting to see rewards from it. The other thing is that if it's, again, Pentacles being the physical world, it can be physical things, like maybe you're building a house and you felt like, okay, this is never going to get done, but, you know, you can actually see the door get installed or the window get installed, and you're like, wow, this is happening, right? And you can just pause and just kind of observe. Also, you know, in a family sense, this can be really, it can be observing a milestone with somebody, you know, seeing somebody really, you know, achieve something. But it's definitely more of kind of a breather kind of thing. If you see this next to the Four of Swords, it's definitely telling you to kind of take a time out. Maybe you've been working really hard at something and you're just, you know, you're determining whether or not you're working, you know how they always say that, I always think of that phrase, work smarter, not harder, you know. It could be that you've gotten some kind of project off the ground, but it really did take a lot of effort. So sometimes you have to stop and breathe and think, okay, how can I do this differently? But the other thing is, you know, that this can also be, with it being the fruits of your labor, it could also be that you're starting to get the payback for things. Like maybe you did start to invest in something and it cost you a lot of money up front, but now you're far enough along, you know, that you don't have to put any more money into it and you can actually, you know, ease up. You're not, you don't have to have your foot on the gas all the time, right? You can stop and pause and say, okay, you know, we're finally moving with this. Now, the second card that I chose was the Vice Versa Tarot. And this card has, the card back is considered the reversal, but the front of it is a very similar, this kind of bridges into the second meaning of the Seven of Pentacles, is that you see a guy with a shovel and he's sitting on a rock and he's looking at a tree with all these pentacles, right? And it's very similar, right? You know, it's kind of like observing. It's very similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith. He seems to be watching the pentacles and really, discerning what's growing and what's not. But one thing that I noticed with this card is that there's kind of a gray background, and when you look at the tree, it does look really sparse. The gold pentacles seem to be hovering in air, right? So, when I see this card in the upright, especially with this deck, it kind of makes me think of those dreams. So, like, if you see the Seven of Pentacles next to more of a dreamy card, like maybe if you see this next to the Seven of Cups, because they're both sevens, right? Maybe that could be a sign that you're thinking about a project, but you're afraid that it's going to take too much effort. Sometimes if you see this next to the Nine of Wands, it can mean that you've really put a lot of effort into it. So this deck, I really see it more on the scrutiny side. Like, in this deck, it seems it kind of goes with, it leans towards the other meaning of maybe those Seven Pentacles are just not feeling like enough. And it isn't that it isn't wonderful that you have Seven Pentacles. I mean, you grew seven, right? But again, what if this is a vineyard and you need more than seven grapes to, make wine, or or maybe you're a farmer and, you need more than, one tree to produce the harvest that's going to support you. So the other thing with the seven is that sometimes it can be observing within a very, very factual light. Okay, is this growing fast enough? And it is almost like determining that it's almost saying, okay, this is going too slow, right? So in the other senses, it can be that, you are reassessing and evaluating your progress, but it doesn't seem like it's going at the pace that it should be. And it's giving you the opportunity to decide if you want to do something different. Now, the other thing is that it can mean that your finances are taking a turn for the better. Again, this tree looks pretty sparse, and yet he's got Seven Pentacles, and that's pretty good, So sometimes it can mean that things are starting to get better, but it's just a slow growth. Again, Pentacles are very slow. The Knight, the Court cards are the slowest in the whole deck. But the other thing that it can mean is persistent effort, right? It means that you have to be patient, and you've already put established work into this, and it's going to take a little bit more. But the thing about it is that it's got a duality where you look at that tree and say, okay, do I want to put more effort into this? Is this worth putting more effort into it? So it is a little bit of a judgment call. Sometimes if you see this next to the Judgment card or next to the Justice card, sometimes it can mean, that you have put a lot into something, and it's, it's kind of evaluating your established work. It can also mean a waiting period. It can mean that maybe right now you don't have anywhere else to go, but it gives you the opportunity to kind of do some review. Again, with a lot of what's going on in the world, sometimes it gives you the opportunity to really evaluate and maybe get flexible with your business plan. But, but it does also mean that you've come a long way, and that, you do get a chance to take stock, right? Now, when you look, the third deck that I went with the Jane Austen Tarot. And the Jane Austen Tarot is really beautiful. In the background, you see a woods, right? And what this is that woman standing in the woods is Harriet Smith. And the person and it's another farmer who's, throwing seed. He's cultivated his land, and he's putting seeds into the ground. And what that is, that person, the farmer, is Robert Martin. And these two characters are from the story of Emma. And Emma is the title character. Emma is she's a rich young woman who does not want for anything, but she's very young and she's a little naive. And what happens is Emma considers herself to be a matchmaker because she introduces her former governess to her future husband, and they end up getting married, right? So she made a successful match, and then all of a sudden, you know, in her naivete, she thinks she's the best matchmaker in the world, right? She gets a little big-headed. And what happens is she has a good friend who's not affluent. Her friend is Harriet Smith. And what it is Harriet Smith is not a lady, right? She's kind of a little bit of a obscure birth, and in that time, you know, it meant that it had a great impact on how you married, right? And women had to marry well in order to be financially stable. And what happened was Harriet Smith was really, she was not in a place to marry really high up on the food chain, but she was approached by Robert Martin, who was a farmer, right? And they had a great connection. Harriet loved Robert, and Robert loved her. But they didn't know each other real well, but they were very compatible, right? Their work ethic and everything else made them very, very like a good match. But Emma, being protective of her friend, thought, oh no, you can do better than that, right? And she did. She kind of looked down her nose at Robert Martin. And then, as in all Austen stories, later on, miscommunications ensue, and Emma tries to get Harriet. Harriet breaks off an engagement with Robert. Robert asks her to marry him, and she refuses because Emma convinces her that that she shouldn't accept his hand. And then Harriet ends up chasing all these other men who are not going to treat her right, who are in the system of wanting to marry for wealth. And but I won't give away the ending if you ever want to watch the movie or read the book. But they do end up together. But half the reason they end up together is because Robert Martin continues to be the good-hearted, hard-working person that he is, right? He does still reach out to Harriet later. He's hurt, but he stays true to himself, and he doesn't change himself to try to win her. And they do end up back together because they were meant to be together, right? But what it is the Seven of Coins for this deck is such a perfect deck for Robert Martin because he's practical. He does well on his farm. It's funny, one of the lines in the book even says he could prove that he could marry, like he knew the financial responsibilities of it. And he doesn't change himself. What I think is interesting is that he keeps looking at Harriet and going like, okay, is this going anywhere, right? So I just thought, it being, him being a farmer, and this is how the Seven of Coins can be more of a romantic card too. If you see the Seven of Pentacles next to Cups, it can kind of be that feeling of like, okay, this, I tried, going out with this person and they didn't seem real interested in me. Is this going anywhere? Is this worth it? I've put this effort into the relationship. And in the same vein, it's like maybe it's telling you to pause, look at what the dynamic of the relationship is. Is it giving you what you want? Is it giving you your harvest, right? Is it worth investing more? And how much investment, how much work would you have to put into it, right? So I just thought that was a beautiful card. And believe me, it's always a contest to choose which decks I'm going to go with. But I thought that was perfect to talk about the kind of love aspect. The other thing is, the last thing with the Seven of Pentacles is it can be a little bit of a crossroads. If you see this next to the Two of Swords or even the Two of Pentacles, it might be that you're deciding whether or not you should pursue this anymore or give up, right? So that bridges perfectly into the reversal of the Seven. And again, the upright kind of has a duality. You can read the upright as being real, more of a waiting card or enjoying your fruits. But in the upright, it can also be a patience and like things not going fast enough. Now, when you see the card in reverse, all reversals means that it's either the extreme, the exaggerated expression of the energy, or the blocked expression of the energy. So when you look at the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse, first off, it can definitely mean that you feel frustrated. It definitely, usually the first thing that it means is this is not growing fast enough, right? This is not giving me the yields that I want. Now, sometimes that can be perceptional. If you see the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse next to a Swords card, sometimes you might be giving up too soon. Sometimes it can be a bad investment. Sometimes it can mean that, again, it might mean that that you have to ride something out and it's just taking its sweet time, right? Now, a lot of times it can mean disillusionment. When I see the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, there's a money. This is money. There's a movie called The Money Pit. Is an old Tom Hanks and Shelley Long movie, and it shows how they're renovating this old house, and it's just everything is falling apart. That's kind of what I think of when I see the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse. It can mean just feeling like depressed because you just feel like everything's falling apart. Sometimes it can be despair, like you just feel like, gosh, this isn't going anywhere. And when you look at the vice versa tarot, the reverse of the card is the back of it, and this really does look like the Seven in reverse. You get to see the guy's face, and when you look at his face, he really doesn't look happy. That does look like despair, right? It looks like, the other thing is that it can mean disillusionment. Like, just like in the Money Pit, they saw this house and thought, oh gosh, it's going to be grand, it's going to be great, and then they get nothing but misery from it. When you look at that tree, the pentacles, you don't know if the pentacles are really on the tree or if he's just imagining them there, right? The other thing is that you see a little skull there, and it looks very foggy, it looks very gray, like, it looks like a barren tree, but in his mind's eye, he's seeing coins, right? So a lot of times it can just with it being in the reverse, it can be an investment that you really banked on, and that really, if you see this next to, maybe the Five of Pentacles, it can be something that was a little bit of a gamble and a loss. Sometimes it can mean bankruptcy. If you see this next to the Eight of Cups, if you see the Seven of Pentacles reversed next to the Eight of Cups, it really means that you're walking away. It means you're walking away from something that you both financially and emotionally invested in. So, that's a little bit more of the painful reversal. Sometimes it means that you have to make some hard choices. Sometimes it means, okay, do I continue to invest in this, or do I, give it up? Because you probably would be taking a little bit of a financial loss. Now, it can be worry about finances, but also if you see this next to kind of a negative Wands card, it can mean rash behavior, right? It might mean that you're pulling your investment too quickly. Sometimes it could mean that you're mad about something. Like if you see this next to a Wands court card in reverse, it could mean that, well, this investment didn't do what I wanted it to. I'm just going to pull all my money, but that might not be smart, right? It might not be the thing, because you might lose big the moment. It could be a sign that if you pull your money out, then the next day all of a sudden it starts turning around. Sometimes it can be an unwillingness to see something through to completion. Again, maybe you started something and you just gave up on it in the middle, so it can be the abandonment of something. It can be abandonment of a physical thing. It can be the abandonment of a property. Again, next to cup cards, it can be an abandonment of some kind of other financial, maybe you started to pay something back and then you let it go. A lot of times it just means kind of a petering out of something, meaning that, it didn't go the course, it started off strong and then it just went, and went off the grid. A lot of times it can mean barrenness if you really are a farmer, because this card can mean investors, farmers, or people who deal with money. it can mean that sometimes a bad harvest, or your business being impacted by something. So sometimes it can mean that, you know, if it really is, if you see this the Seven of Pentacles in reverse next to maybe the Nine of Pentacles, the Nine of Wands, it could mean that you're really ready to give up on something. It could be that you're no longer able to stay in business because it's taking too much, right? It's not giving you anything back. A lot of times it just feels like you're going nowhere. It really just feels like you're in limbo, or that you're stuck. If you see this next to the Eight of Swords, you just really feel like this is not going anywhere. The other thing is that, you know, it can be that you feel overwhelmed by either bills or credit card, you know, debts. Sometimes it can mean that you're doing a job that's not fulfilling anymore, and you just feel like you're toiling away and really not going anywhere. But a lot of times it does just kind of mean that you're feeling a little impatient. Now, when you see this kind of seven in reverse, especially next to a love card, it does kind of mean that maybe you feel like somebody's taken a lot from you, possibly financially. You know, I do kind of see that card, especially in the reverse, as the kind of, well, I put so much, not to stereotype that way, but if you are a guy watching this, I kind of see, you know, and it can be the other way around. It's, you know, we're in very equal, you know, dating kind of, in an equal dating kind of world. But sometimes if you were really interested in someone, and you took them out to dinner, you took them out to movies, you paid for everything, and it's not that you're expecting anything in return, but you really, you know, maybe they showed you more attention because you were spending money on them, and then all of a sudden they turn around and dump you. You know, it's kind of like that, you know, well, gosh, I put so much investment, not only your heart, but you were really trying to show them a good time, and then they just, you know, they took the money and run, kind of an impression. But whether or not, you know, whether or not it's in the upright or in the reverse, the Seven of Pentacles really is about about working diligently. It really is. It's seen to being, you know, if you've heard of the story, the turtle and the hare, it's really the turtle, you know, slow and steady wins the race. And this person in this card is willing to do the work, so that makes all the difference. But all right, guys, so that concludes the how-to part of the video. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you choose your deck. The first deck is always the Rider-Waite-Smith, and with it I have paired a Sunstone. The second deck is the Vice Versa Tarot, and what it is there is no formal card back for this. The back of the card is considered the reversal, and with it we have a Dalmatian Jasper. And the third deck is my lovely favorite Jane Austen Tarot, and paired with it is a beautiful natural double pearl. And I'll be clarifying with the Look Within Oracle cards, and I'll go ahead and give you a minute. If you need more time, please pause the video. Please choose from your intuition, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. So I'm going to go start with the first deck, the Rider-Waite-Smith. And let's go ahead and see, how does the Seven of Pentacles manifest in your life? Ooh. Okay. And as I said in the intro, we're going to be clarifying with the Ten of Swords is trying to slide out there. I'll keep that in mind. I'm going to be clarifying with the Look Within Oracle cards. I did purchase these off Etsy. What I thought was lovely about these cards is that they have inspirational meanings, and with the Seven of Pentacles being kind of that, you know, how should I handle this? What should I do next kind of card? I thought these would be wonderful to just say, okay, you know, you're feeling stuck. You're feeling like, you know, how do you go forward? These are really beautiful cards for that. So let's go ahead and see. It's all for a reason. Oh, that's beautiful, guys. I really do. I love these cards. I've been using them a lot lately. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So in your past, you had the Queen of Pentacles. And actually, when I was shuffling, the King of Pentacles wanted to come out too. So it's very similar energy. You can be a man or a woman watching this video, but basically in the past, you really, you have a very grounded beginning. What this kind of tells me is that the Queen of Pentacles is a very practical person. She knows how to nurture by, you know, by in the real world, right? I always think of this as like the mother who knows, like, you know, it's funny, I can even compare it to my sister. She knows everybody in the household so well that the moment that we run out of something, like someone's favorite soda or the shampoo, the moment that she sees that we're out of something, you don't even need to tell her to pick up more. She kind of knows, right? And it's kind of that nurturance in a physical way. The other thing it tells me is that you've grown up this way, right? Like, this is your past, this is your upbringing. You know, Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles. You're used to having a very stable home life. You know what's required to be physically happy, right? And you know, and that's and the thing is, the beauty about the Queen of Pentacles is it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be wealthy to have that either. It's more of a you know, you know that you have a roof over your head, you know that you have enough to be, you know what, you know, you don't live in excess, but you have enough and you're satisfied. The other thing about the Queen of Pentacles is she's a very gratitude person. She's very similar to the Empress in the fact that she's kind of an Earth mother. She's very nature based, and you can see that in her card. Everything around her is kind of natural. So she's not very superficial about things. She likes having quality things. Like, you know, she doesn't like cheap, right? She'll pay the extra money. You know, one way I always look at it is like, have you ever bought like a $120 pair of shoes, but they've lasted you 20 years, right? That's kind of the Queen of Pentacles. She's like, okay, you know, let's pay a little bit more for the quality roof, the one that's going to last forever, because she doesn't like throwing away things, and she doesn't like anything that's cheaply made. But she doesn't squander money either. She cares that everybody's taken care of. And this is how you grew up, right? Like, you grew up in a sense that you're not, and then the beautiful thing is you're not haughty about it. You're not like, well, I have to have the mansion up in the hill. You're like, no, I need to have the good house with the good roof, with the right number of bedrooms, just enough that I need, right? Not more than I need, not less than I need. And what's inside of that house has got to be quality, right? So that's your background. That's what you come from, and that's what you know, right? So I also get a feeling that maybe you work in finance, or you work in some profession that understands physical. You know, you could be a construction worker, you could be in banking, you could be an investor, but you're definitely in some kind of field where you see and understand. The other thing that I'm kind of getting is you know the current pulse of what's important today, right? Like, it's not like you're detached from you know, what's realistic. You're very much in the now with what's required. So what I'm seeing here is that, you know, in the past you're the Queen of Pentacles, so you've had a lot of stability in your life. So and you know what stability looks like, right? So presently, your current, you got the Two of Pentacles, and this is a lot of out of 4 cards, 3 are Pentacles, guys. So very practical pile, very practical. And remember in the intro, we talked about how the Seven of Pentacles really feels like a pause, right? It feels like you're being told to wait, or you're evaluating where you are, right? And the present energy, the current energy, is the Two of Pentacles, right? And the Two of Pentacles is the juggler, right? In the background, you see waves with ships, right? So I think right now what's happening is that I do think that you are juggling. I think that you're not to your 10 yet of Pentacles, but you're getting there. I think what you're doing now is, I do think that something is happening in your life presently that has things in flux. In the past, you've been in a very stable environment. You've had everything that you need. And I think right now that it's not so much being shaken up, but you have to make changes, right? I think you're being very flexible with the changes, or the universe is asking you to be flexible. The other thing is that there is an element of excitement with this, because the Two of Pentacles is about juggling, but he makes it a game. He makes it fun, right? Or what it's telling you is that I do think that presently you feel like things are at a standstill. And the other thing that I'm getting is that I'm really my eyes are really drawn to the really focused look on his face. I think I really get the feeling as if you're feeling a little stressed out. It's almost like you're transitioning. You're transitioning from one state of being to another. Maybe you're changing jobs. You could be moving or looking at a move. And all I know is that, because she's holding one pentacle and now you're juggling two, right? And the juggling two is the root of your seven, which is, taking a pause and evaluating and assessing what you have. You've had a lot, and how can you make it become something else, right? The other thing is that you might, again, the juggling of the two doesn't last forever. The other thing with the up and down emotions is it might be stressing you out a little bit. I think you just want to do things practically. You don't want to make any foolish mistakes. It's almost like you kind of want to see, okay, what can you do? What can you do to go forward? Now, the future, which I think is really interesting, is that the future, or, where you're going is, you're going to the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords is that meditation card. This is very clear, guys. I get the feeling like you're not a rushing person, right? You don't rush. But I feel like I do get a sense of kind of pressure from this. Like you're stressing, you're giving yourself anxiety, thinking that you have to have all your ducks in a row. Like you have to have your plan mapped out, and you're struggling with it because you're like, okay. The other thing I'm kind of getting is like, she's holding one pentacle and now you're juggling two. And you see that this person looks younger. They look like a novice, right? And this novice looks younger than the seven, right? So what that tells me is that you feel like you have to make some kind of big decision, and you don't want to make the wrong decision, and you're kind of juggling back and forth. Okay, should I do this? Should I do this? But I need the down payment for this, or I'm going to need this much money in order to this work, and you don't want to sacrifice any of your security. You want things to be as they've always been, just better, right? And that's where your seven is coming in. You're thinking about how to do that, and as you move forward, this is a very clear sign. And whether and please take this however it resonates. If you believe in God, if you believe in a higher power, that I really believe that the overall advice is, please do not work yourself into a froth about this. There is no rush. You do not have to make this this is a very big decision, and the Pentacles is slow energy. And here the Four of Swords is probably the only slow air card that there is, other than the Eight, right? But it's telling you to slow down and just really breathe a little bit. It's telling you to kind of take your time, and that I think it's also letting you know that you take your time, because this solution will come to you. You just kind of you don't have to make the decision tomorrow. But there is a little bit of frustration here. It feels like that there's a lot of things up in the air right now. The other thing is that it might also be telling you to kind of finish one project, kind of go back to having one pentacle to worry about. Then you can make this major decision, but there's absolutely no rush, and you really don't have to pressure yourself. I'm getting a little bit of worry from this, like you're afraid that you won't be able to handle it, but you started off with the Queen of Pentacles, and quite honestly, you can handle anything. You've done it, right? But something about this stuff feels intimidating, and it's okay to take your time. It's okay to take your time. It's actually telling you to check out a little bit. And also, I think it's saying take your mind off it a little bit. because maybe the solution will come to you when you take your mind off of it. But there's definitely no rush here. And I think this is a beautiful card because you got, it's all for a reason. It's all for a reason. So maybe, again, with this being a pause card, it's, you know, you feeling like it's not going fast enough. I'm really surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the Wheel of Fortune came out in this. Nine of Cups. Yes, you're gonna get a wish come true. You're gonna have a wish come true. All of this is for a reason. So what you have in your mind, you really don't. Just know that if you are feeling kind of stymied, or you feel like things are just going up and down, and that the other thing that I'm getting is that, you know, you feel. You're evaluating where this is going to go, and it feels a little up and down to you, and that's not your style, because the Queen of Pentacles is very stable. She's grounded, right? So I think it is telling you it's okay to be grounded. It's okay, just, you know, if you start to stress out, check out and meditate a little bit, because it's all for a reason. If you're I always call this I call these stoplight moments. I've had moments where I'm feeling really restless. And it's amazing. The moment I just want to go, or, you know, the moment that you feel like you're, you know, beating your head against a wall trying to fix something and the solution is not coming, if you stop and look around, and that's what I call a stoplight moment. If you stop and you look around, I guarantee you there's something around you that was meant to be noticed. It never fails. It's happened to me many times in my life where I just breathe, I stop, you know. I often think of it too, and it's a bad analogy, but this is how it comes to me in the imagery in my mind, is that, have you ever seen a bird that's looking at a clear piece of glass and it thinks it can fly through, and it keeps flying into the glass and it's beating itself up, right? Don't beat yourself up. I know you can see where you're going, but things are up and down, and things will get grounded again. But whatever stoplight moment you're experiencing, just really entrench yourself in it. You know, take a break mentally, because it is all for a reason. Wow, guys, that was a deep one. I liked that. And again, I love these cards. They're very positive. All right, so deck number 2, we got the Vice Versa Tarot. I do love this deck. And again, you know, the back side is the reversal, and I think both images are really amazing. The Temperance card wanted to come out on top, and I was really impressed by that. So I'm just going to give it a quick shuffle. Okay, so deck number 2, how does the Seven of Pentacles manifest in your life? Okay, middle, present energy. Middle, present energy. 3 of Cups wanted to pop out. Okay, current energy, please. 1 card for current energy. Wow. Okay, future, please. Okay, and we have Justice on top. So let's get your Look Within card. How can this person, what advice do you have for this person's Seven of Pentacles? Ooh, there we go. Be clear about what you want. Okay. And I did open up the deck and it said finding balance, and we have Justice on top. So, you know, that can be about finding balance. Wow, guys, so in the past we got the Ace of Wands and you got the 10 of Pentacles, but you got them both in the reverse, right? So the front is the 10 and the Ace that way, but here you have the Ace on top and you have the 10 of Pentacles. So quite clearly, guys, this is very cut and dry with it being in the reverse. You wanted, in the past, you know, what's bringing you up to the 7 of Pentacles moment is that you wanted your 10 of Pentacles, like you wanted your happy home life, you know, mansion on the hill, you know, everything paid for. You wanted that yesterday. It's quite clear. You know, you wanted this type of success. Either that, or you feel like this success should have been yours a long time ago. You know, it could quite be that this is what you've always wanted and this is what you've always worked for, but you just feel like you're not there yet. Like, you know, the 10 is a delay, and the Ace of Wands is like, it's like a false start. You know, it's like you keep trying and trying, but I do get the feeling like, I do get kind of a feeling, and we talked about this in the intro, sometimes the Seven of Pentacles can feel like can feel like a delay because of impatience. And it's not that we're saying that you're being impatient with it, it just feels like you're you've been on track, you know your goal, you've known your goal this whole time. Why aren't you there yet? You're still at the 7, right? And we even said, you know, in this image particularly, he's looking at what looks like a barren tree, right? And there's gray clouds. What if those pentacles are just in his mind, right? You know, because when you look on his face, he really doesn't, all the other trees in the background are barren. You know, it's almost as if he's the only one seeing the coins on it, right? So I do feel like I'm getting more of a sense of frustration here. I'm getting a sense of frustration. You know, I get the feeling like you had, the other thing is that I feel like you had this great enthusiasm to start this project. Like you started something, and it could be a job, it could be some kind of investment. There are a few cups cards here, so it could be a relationship as well, or one that you felt like was going to give you home and family and stability, you know, one that you really, you know, you felt like you were going to have this happiness, and you were all gung-ho about it. You were going straight, and this is a 1 to a 10, right? Ace of Wands, 10 of Pentacles. And here you are, you know, those were the hopes of the past. And where did it lead you? Okay, I'm sitting on a rock, holding a shovel, looking at a tree that looks like it's damn near dead. You know, and so I do believe that your coins are there. But what I'm thinking is, I think that you're probably feeling you're feeling gloomy. I think those 7 pentacles really are there, but I think you're more in a state of like, okay, this is all I have after all of that enthusiasm. Why don't I have my 10, right? And we can get into those moods, definitely. We can get into those moods. But right underneath the 7, you have the 3 of Swords, and you have the 9 of Cups. And again, the 9 of Cups is that wish fulfillment card. So what this kind of tells me is that, you know, again, this can be a work context. I do feel like you are feeling a little bit of current pain. I do think that you feel like you're not far enough along, and it's almost like you think that it feels like there are 3 people involved in this, and one of them is you, right? And again, you started off with these grand hopes. You really thought, okay, if I work hard enough, you were so enthusiastic. And now it's like, okay, I'm not where I'm supposed to be yet. The other thing is that I'm kind of getting a sense of pain. And it's almost like you know what I'm kind of getting? I get this feeling like you're over here doing really hard work, and it's not 10 yet, but it's 7. And the 7's growing, you know. They're not full-fledged, you know, coins yet, but they're getting there. And you did the work, right? And that was a lot of work. But I'm going to go ahead and read it like this just because it can. The way that these cards fell can be in if this is a romantic situation. The way I'm seeing it is that in the past you saw somebody as a real potential mate, man or woman, and you thought, oh gosh, you know, I can have the family with him. I could have the happy home and family life, because you see the happy king, right? And he's looking at his grandchildren, and he's got the 10 pentacles over his head, right? But you started off on that path. You started working for that dollar. You might have started off trying to work to support this dream, and then something came along and said, well, don't even bother, you know. You might have had some kind of, you know, pain that came from it, and you feel like the other person's smug, You know, like, okay, you know, I was working for us, and, you know, maybe, you know, and again, just to read it in that context, it doesn't have to be that way, but you were really excited about some kind of dream, and something came along and kind of stabbed it, you know, and then it's leaving you feeling like you didn't do enough, and you kind of feel like someone's across from you, because again, look at this, one guy is looking at his pentacles and the other guy is like kind of like, haha, you know. But so it couldn't, you know, if this is a Three of Swords situation, you could feel like you started off to try to support someone and they might have left you for someone else who was more financially stable. But one thing I will remind you is that the Seven of Pentacles is, again, it's an industrious card. And remember in the intro, we talked about that too. It's about leaving something too soon, you know? If someone did leave you thinking, well, you don't have enough money, I'm going to go over to so-and-so, I can almost promise you that it's probably their loss. It is, you know, because those pentacles will grow. But the other thing that I can see here too is that maybe you started off in some kind of career path or some kind of project and you really expected to go off like gangbusters, and then something came along and, you know, stymied your growth. And I do think that if this is job related, it could have been that maybe you were working hard towards a promotion and it was given to someone else. I am getting kind of like a victory here, because the Nine of Cups is somebody being kind of smug, and with it being the root of the pain and you looking at your coins like they're not enough. But the other thing is that I do think that presently you might have on some gray colored glasses, guys, because Seven Pentacles, I know it's not the 10. It's not the 10, but, you know, it takes time to get to the 10, and it's not bad. You know, it's statistically proven that, and you can look this up on the internet, if you start feeling like, if you really start feeling down to the point, you know, like, I haven't accomplished anything in my life, you know, da 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 da. I've been there myself, and one of the best ways to prove to yourself that you are not a loser, and that you the work you did was something, is to look back at either pictures or to remember times in your life that you were successful. And I'm not trying to, you know, blow sunshine, because, you know, I scrapbook, and it's funny how they talk about scrapbooking in a psychological sense. Scrapbooking really does help you when you flip back and look at good times in your life, because a lot of times you don't remember the good times when you're feeling blue, right? You know, either that, or, and I know not everyone scrapbooks, I'm not telling you to go out and start that hobby or anything, but it can be as simple as social media. Okay, one good thing about social media is that social media will, at least on Facebook, it'll pop up memories, right? It'll pop up memories. So I will ask this, if you are feeling like, if some kind of situation at work or in love has made you feel like you're not good enough, like you don't have enough pentacles, and dude over there with all the cups is just looking at you like you're nothing, and you're feeling like you're nothing, look back at something, maybe, you know, look at some photographs, look at a memory that's on social media, in your own mind, you know, go back to a time, and let it be something recent, or I also do something called a smile of the day, where there's just usually something in my surrounding that I notice, you know. The other day I went out to my recycling bin and there was a frog sitting on top. A little, he looked like this little Dalmatian Jasper. He was a little spotty guy. Here, I'll even put up a picture of my frog. He got mad at me because I had to lift the lid of my recycling bin, so he hopped on the wall and kind of ribbited at me. He was pissed off. But that was my smile of the day, because it's like, you know, because we do get into that kind of mind funk, especially if something happened where you did feel like kind of stabbed. But the other thing that I kind of get from this is that the Nine of Cups really is kind of that, it does kind of plan into this, like maybe you had some very, very big expectations. And the Seven of Pentacles is, the real world expression of your dream and ideas, right? And there's a, what is it? There's a theory in philosophy where they talk about the realm of ideas. And like, for instance, you have an idea to build a a birdhouse. And then you go and you get all the materials. Maybe you want to make it out of popsicle sticks. You go out and you put you glue it all together, and then in your head you were imagining like the Beverly Hills of of birdhouses. And then you're looking at it and it looks like a popsicle stick mess, and you're like, why does it look like crap, right? And we all have moments like that. Don't despair. 7 pentacles is not 1 pentacle. It's 7. It's 7. And I know it doesn't seem like much because you're sitting on your rock with your shovel, like, what the hell? But, please do not let it pain you. If this is a third-party thing, if somebody else kind of either got a promotion, just keep working or decide. This is the decision card. This does feel a little bit like a crossroads. You decide where you go from here, right? But with there being wands in this, I would just say, try not to be too impulsive, because 7 is something, right? You did cultivate something out of this, and something is not nothing, right? Be proud of your little popsicle stick birdhouse. It's not the worst. Right? It's not the worst. Now, moving forward, this is some really, and again, we've got more energy here, guys. We've got the 7 of Swords, and we've got the 4 of Cups. So with this, I get the feeling, I am getting a strong disillusionment from this pile. I think something going on presently is making you feel like all of your hard work has been for nothing. Like you're feeling futility is what I'm hearing. And it makes you want to pick up and leave, right? It's making you want to say, well, screw this, I had all these big dreams. I envisioned 10 pentacles, and I busted my ass to get 7. And, and then there's pain, there's some kind of, the other thing that I'm kind of sensing here with 3 of Swords and the 7 of Swords, you either feel like you're not agreeing, because these are 2 7s. You could really feel like, what you signed on for is not what you got, and you're feeling like it's not growing fast enough. So moving forward, you might feel like you have to change course, because that's the other thing, is the 7 is evaluation. It's saying, okay, what do I want to do with this? Do I want to continue to try to grow in the spot? Should I uproot the tree? Because the other thing is he's holding that shovel, right? And he's holding that shovel to decide, like, have you ever dug up the roots of a tree, wrapped it up in some burlap and said, okay, let me plant this somewhere else, I think you might be deciding whether or not you want to plant your tree somewhere else, to get better results, but that might make you feel like you're betraying someone. Maybe you feel like you're betraying your employer, not like that, but you might feel like, okay, if I change jobs or if I change positions, that you're gonna feel like you're going against, like you're sneaking away, right? He's sneaking away in the night, right? The other thing is that if this is relationship related, you could feel like, this person, whoever it was that kind of broke your heart, that they're just sneaking away like a thief in the night, right? And underneath it, you have the 4 of Cups. The 4 of Cups is that guy under the tree looking at the spilled cups, right? And there is a crab in there which rules the moon, right? It's a very blue, it's a very lethargic kind of feeling. There's a lot of lethargy here, guys, and I'm so, I'm getting a sense of kind of overwhelm with this. I think that you've been working real hard. I think you definitely had a big dream for this. This is what breaks my heart, is you had a big dream. And definitely with the 3 of Swords, something happened where you feel like there was some kind of third-party interference, and you definitely feel like someone was given something that you had earned. And it's making you question whether or not you want to be on this path anymore. Whether it be with a person or with a job or a goal. And you're deciding, you're really, again, with that shovel, these images are really speaking to me. With that shovel, you're like, should I just dig up my tree and go somewhere else? But you don't want to give up. Because the other thing is, I think it would make you really depressed to give up. The other thing is that, if you pick up and leave, which you could do, that's an option, right? You could pick up and leave, but you might feel like you're giving up. I think it would make you I think it would probably depress you a little bit. The other thing is that if this is a situation where something that you had earned, an honor was given to someone else, then you're just feeling real depressed about it. You're like, okay, why I did this work, why wasn't that good enough, right? So I do think that you do need to kind of cheer yourself up. I think before you make any major decisions, just try. The other thing is that you got the Two of Pentacles in reverse, because I wanted some clarification. Ooh, and that plays into our card too. But it does look like, the Two of Pentacles, when it's in the upright, it means that you're juggling things, right? You got everything in stride, but here you have it in reverse. And you know what? I am getting a little bit of a work vibe from this, guys, because the Two of Pentacles in reverse, you see how he's juggling? He's like a jester, and he's entertaining the people in the balconies, right? And when it's upright, you see a ship sailing away. Like, you know what I feel like is, the other thing I'm getting from this is that half the reason that you're deciding whether or not you should continue with this is because you're missing other opportunities. You're staying ahead, you're continuing to work hard, but the juggle, you're kind of feeling overwhelmed by it. You can't juggle like this forever, and you kind of feel like the jester, like you feel like you're juggling to impress other people, but you're not getting your Ten of Pentacles the way you wanted it, right? And you're deciding. The other thing is, it's right next to the Seven. It's almost like you're deciding whether or not you should put the Pentacles down, dig up your tree, and but you will feel, the thing is that it's going to feel like a failure to you if you do that, because it would make you feel like you're, like you've come so far and then you're just bailing, right? The other thing is that I think, now guys, I'm hearing, I don't channel, but I'm hearing the phrase, what will they think? Like, I'm almost afraid that you're afraid of what people will say. If you do what's right for you, or if you say this isn't working for me anymore, I'm going to give up. And it's not so much that you're afraid to disappoint people, but you don't want people making judgments about you. But you're not happy, But I think you will make the right decision. And again, you did work hard. Those Pentacles are yours, right? You worked hard. So I will say this to help with the gray colored glasses before you make a decision. If you're in this mindset, you see how much gray is in this. Please try to look back at what achievements you have accomplished. Try to see those in a very clear light. Now, your oracle card, and let me tell you, oh my gosh, guys, I get this card a lot too. Be clear about what you want. Be clear about it. I'm definitely getting a magician vibe here, guys. I'm getting a magician vibe. If this is what you wanted in the beginning, right? Okay, let me flip it around so we can see it. Let's look at it in the upright. If this is what you wanted, you wanted the Ten of Pentacles, you wanted the house, you wanted the car, you wanted the dog, and you were ready. It's so funny. Every single time I see this card, I think of that scene in Braveheart when Mel Gibson, he's on his horse and he's like, freedom. It's like you're leading the charge. Sorry guys, I'm being real animated. But if that's what you wanted, if that's still what you want, don't settle. Don't let those dreams be dashed, right? Don't let those dreams be dashed. Again, the Seven of Pentacles is about changing directions. It's your moment to pause, right? It's your moment to evaluate what you want to do next, and that power is with you, right? That power is with you. If you want to stop juggling. But I do think that you have a very careful decision to make. I do think that you've had some pain from this situation. Definitely, if this has been a person, if you feel like you were portrayed by a person, let me just promise you, the Seven of Pentacles is it's very interesting. When Seven of Pentacles comes up in a love reading, I always get a thrill. I almost think this cute little farmer guy is almost better than the King of Pentacles sometimes, because you know what? He has tenacity. he knows that he's going to get where he's going, and he's willing to put the sweat equity into it to make that happen, and that's really darn attractive. So if this is a relationship situation, if someone's feeling like you don't have enough money, they're going to find out real quick that they made a stupid mistake. But if I am getting a little bit of a work vibe from this, and I do think that you're afraid of looking like, you know, you're afraid of what people would say if you made the decision to not stick this out, you know, or if you made the decision to change course in order to get, you know, that dream. But with their wands, with there being wands in the mix, and honestly the Seven of Swords is a little bit of a deception card. I would be careful with that kind of energy. You know, try not to do anything impulsive or anything anything underhanded, you know, anything that might be deemed as backstabbing. But other than that, I do think that, again, be clear about what you want. I think this is the universe's way of saying, you know, you don't have to feel like you're toiling away and not getting what, decide what you want and continue, you know, steer your course, take action to take those 7 pentacles and put that towards that dream. And, you know, and it'll manifest for you. But wow, guys, that was a real deep one. I'm glad we got the extra cards for that. And again, you know, the other oracle card said, you know, balance. That's the other thing, is balance. You did get 2 7s there, and the justice was coming out on top. So, oops, sorry, that's not your stone. That's your stone. All right, last but not least, one of my favorite decks. We've got the Jane Austen and Robert Martin. You know, I'm such a Captain Wentworth girl usually, but I have to admit, Robert Martin is on my top 5 of like most loved Austen heroes. You know, yeah, he's a sweetheart, and he's, you know, again, I said in the last pile, the 7 of Pentacles farmer guy he's an attractive guy because he's willing to work hard to get what he wants. So let's go ahead and let's see, how does the 7 of coins, 7 of Pentacles, manifest in your life? Okay, we'll go ahead and take all 3. Okay, present energy. Wow. All right. Oh my gosh. Future energy, please. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Holy Toledo. I don't know if I have cross watchers, but the 7 of Swords, which is the 7 of Quills, came out in the same spot last time for the middle deck. Let's go ahead and get your oracle card. And I was explaining with all the other decks, these oracle cards are new and they have sayings on it. Because the 7 of coins is such an energy of evaluation and trying to discern where you should go and what you should do, I felt like advice cards that are encouraging, and these are very encouraging. I thought these would be a nice way to help give us some insight on what you can do or what actions you can take to help you make a clear decision. All right. So what is our oracle card? And this was on the bottom there. And I'm also seeing another card that says make space for it. So we'll keep that in mind as we're reading. Wow, guys. You got 2 queens in this. Wow, okay. So quite clearly, and I explained in the beginning, the 7 of coins in this deck is Robert Martin and Harriet Smith from the story of Emma. And a quick summary is that Emma is a young affluent woman. She's very naive. She was a matchmaker. She introduced her governess to to the man her governess was going to marry, and she all of a sudden thinks that she's the best matchmaker ever, and she in her kind of in her ignorance, she detours her good friend Harriet Smith from marrying a farmer, Robert Martin, and it would have been a wonderful match. You know, both were of the same background and of the same, you know, work ethic. And, you know, as the story progresses, you know, the two are separated, but they both, you know, Robert Martin continues to hold true and work hard, and he eventually gets the girl. So, so I think that's a beautiful analogy for the Seven of Coins. But what I see is that I see in the past, and going off that story, wow, guys, I'm gonna have to go out and say it. You know, it's funny. I get nervous when I start pulling out my Jane deck, because I'm like, okay, you know, this is how the Seven of Coins manifests in my viewers and my beautiful, you guys, my watchers, lives. And you know, Jane is naturally a romance writer. She, you know, so I'm not always trying to. I try to read the cards very clearly, where it's not always, you know, the moment I see the Jane deck, I'm like, okay, is this going to be a love thing? And it usually is. Pain sigh. But I got to read it how I read it. And quite honestly, guys, this is a love situation. And there is quite clearly someone interfering. And I am getting kind of a vibe. You can be a man or a woman watching this reading. But anyway, what I see is, I do see, it kind of looks like a woman, but we'll get into this. You can be a man or a woman watching this. But again, Robert Martin wants to make an offer to Harriet Smith, but Emma interferes, right? And what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing in the past, in the background here, we've got the 10 of Candlesticks, so we've got the 10 of Wands, we've got the Lady of Quills, and then we've got the Hermit. And the Lady of Quills in this deck, I know that's Eleanor Dashwood. I'm almost positive this is Anne Elliot. It is. It's Anne Elliot. Oh, I love Anne. And Edward Ferrars too. Oh, okay, sorry guys. Sorry, got all excited. All right. But yes, in the past, I see what's happening is you've worked very hard, right? I do feel like, I'm getting a relationship vibe from this. I feel like that you were in a relationship with someone that you felt very connected to. Again, with Harriet and Robert, they have so much in common. They have so much in common. They're a good match. But someone thought, you know, Emma thought Harriet could do better. And she gets in and sabotages the match. Now, the interesting thing is that I really feel like, you can be man or woman watching this, I feel like you're Robert Martin. I feel like the person that you were going after, you know, the person you were going after seemed interested at first, but then all of a sudden they declined your advances, right? They declined your advances, and the other thing is, I get that you're also kind of scratching your head about it, right? Because you seem so good for each other, right? Because what I see here is that I always read 3 cards, like the root, stem, and blossom, right? Like the root of the issue, what it grew into, and the end result. So the end result is the 10 of Wands, and the 10 of Wands is that's doing more than your fair share, right? It's working too hard, right? It's almost doing the work for other people that you shouldn't be doing, right? You're stressing yourself out. In the past, you stressed yourself out. I really get the feeling like you worked hard for this, right? Like you saw the connection, you felt the chemistry, and you were willing. And the other thing is, remember how we said 7 of Coins is the hard worker. They're the tenacious person. They're the industrious person. Robert Martin seeds his crop, and he's a good, hardworking farmer. He knows how much money he's going to make. He knows he balances his. I feel like that is all you, right? You work hard. If you want something, you're willing to put the sweat equity into it. But you're pausing. Okay, we'll get to that. But what had happened in the past is that you have the Hermit and you have the Lady of Quills, right? And the Hermit is the person who goes up to the mountaintop to evaluate the situation, right? And the Lady of Quills is the Queen of Swords, right? It's the Queen of Swords. And what I see is, because I see this as a little bit of a sandwich, I think in the past, again, you felt a connection to someone. It really went off without a hitch. But then when you wanted it to get more serious, all of a sudden the person dismantled it and backed away, and you still had no idea why. And I think at first you worked really hard. I think what it did is you pulled away to try to figure out what happened. And I think there was a lot that had happened between you. Like I really get the sense that you had had a lot of meetings, right? Some of them good, some of them really confusing, right? And I do think this person was kind of blowing hot and cold and you didn't know why. And I think what happened was, and again, the Queen of Swords is all about boundaries. Queen of Swords will, when she's had enough of the head games, she will, and with the Hermit, I think you really, you had enough of the back and forth with the push and pull because you felt like you were just working yourself. You felt like you got to a point where you were working so darn hard to try to make this work. And you finally got tired of it, you put up a boundary and you just went up to the mountaintop and said, okay, let me reflect on all of the encounters that I had with this person. And what that does is that brings you to the present. You put up your boundaries, and honestly, Robert Martin did that too. He proposed once, and when he was refused, he backed away. He was hurt. And he really stayed away from Harriet for a long time. And I think he was probably doing this, it was like, well, I work really hard, I thought I'm a good person. I presented myself to you honorably. And you left me scratching my head, right? The other thing is that the Lady of Quills is very analytical. She'll analyze things, but she also doesn't put up with any mess either. When she draws a boundary, she draws a boundary. And with the Hermit being there, I think you really did. I think you worked more. I think you put in more effort than you should, that you needed to, right? You went above and beyond to try to make this work. Now, the present energy is really beautiful. Present energy, and what I get the feeling of is the fact that Harriet Smith is like in the background staring, like he almost doesn't see her there, right? He's seeding his crops, right? I think what you did is you said, okay, I tried, and then you just, and again, with the 7 being the evaluation card, right? The 7 is being, okay, let me stop and evaluate where I'm at, right? I'm just showing you the Rider-Waite Smith so we can compare. That's what you're doing. I think you went back to your life. You went back to your life and said, okay, fine. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to go above and beyond. That's too much work, right? And it isn't that this person isn't worth the work. It's just the 10 of Wands is about having 10 wands on your back, and you don't have to carry that many, right? Not all those wands are yours to carry, right? You have to put some of them down. So I think you did right by you. And again, that's also a Queen of Swords thing. You drew boundaries. And I think what it is that you went back about your life, and underneath this, you have the Queen of Coins. You have the Queen of Coins. You have, you know what, guys? I'm almost thinking that I think whomever you are dealing with, I get this strong sense that they're watching you from a distance. Like I'm getting probably, they might be watching your social media, either that or they're checking in on you somehow, and you're just going about your business, right? You might be doing some artistic things. The other thing is that the Lady of Coins is real practical. So I think you just went about your life. I think you're a naturally hard worker. The other thing is Eleanor Dashwood. Eleanor Dashwood was, when her family, in the Sense and Sensibility, she has to move out of the manor and move into this little cottage, right? And she had to do without money. She had to really she knows, and she's a good artist. So I think what happened was, when you said enough is enough, you pulled away to evaluate the situation. And again, with that Hermit there, in the past, you finally said, okay, let me evaluate whether or not this person is worth this effort, because in the beginning I thought they were the bee's knees. I really thought they were worth all this work. But, if they're ghosting me, or if they're, blowing hot and cold, I think you pulled away and you put your focus back on your life. Maybe I do get a sense like you, and it was very practical of you, because you also got the 2 most practical queens. Like when the mess was happening, like when you were going back and forth with this person, I think you were running it over very logically in your head, like you were keeping your emotions out of it. But I think presently, as you're evaluating it, I think the other thing I'm getting is that I really think this person is curious about how quiet you're being. And really all you're doing is living your life, right? I think you're trying not to think about them. So you're going about, the other thing is that, Eleanor, she in Sense and Sensibility was very connected. That's the other thing. She was very connected. She met Edward Ferrars and they really did, same story. Her and Edward really connected, and then he'd also disappeared with very little explanation. And she did the same thing. She went back to, the other thing that I'm getting is that you're finding joy in everyday things. Like, you're not thinking, you're still confused about what went down. You don't know why. I am getting a little bit of a ghosting vibe, guys. You don't know why the person just all of a sudden just backed off and disappeared. But you know that you put a heartfelt effort towards this person, and you're kind of stepping back, and you're like, okay, if this grows into something, it does. If it doesn't, I did my best, right? I did my best. The other thing is that if you ever get a chance to watch Sense and Sensibility, the way that Eleanor handles her time, it isn't that she doesn't miss Edward, because she does, but she does. She goes back to her life. She doesn't let this affect her life. Same thing with Robert Martin. He was hurt. He was affected, but he didn't stop farming. He didn't stop living his life. He did not. The other thing is that neither of these people changed themselves in order to fit into what the other person wanted them to be. They just said, okay, if the person I was talking to doesn't feel like I'm worthy enough for them, I can't be anything different. I'm just going to live my best life, and I'm going to be me. So that's where I think you're at presently. I don't think that there's any movement right now. I think you're just living your life and seeing where this is going to go. The other thing that I'm kind of getting is I'm really getting the feeling like, you're waiting for the other person to give you a sign or make a move. You're not waiting for it to happen, but you're like, okay, the last where we left off was here, and you already, again, 10 of Wands, you already put enough into this. You probably put too much into this already. So I really don't think it's your job to have to do more. But this is where it gets interesting. Because in both of these stories, there was interference. In Emma interfered with Harriet. She told Harriet, she convinced Harriet that she didn't want to be with Robert, even though she did. And then in Sense and Sensibility, and this was him being honorable, but Edward had, the reason that he didn't want to continue things with Eleanor and he left kind of mysteriously is because he had a previous engagement with another woman that he had met when he was really young. He had not seen the girl in years, but he had proposed to her, so he felt obligated to follow through on that engagement. And you see what's happening is he's holding his hand and he's standing outside the door. What it is that house is where Eleanor is. Eleanor is sitting inside the house. She's in where that window is where that window is. And Edward is standing outside, and you'll notice that he's touching his ring. And what it is that the ring that he has on his hand has a lock of hair from his other fiancée, Lucy Steele. And what it is that back then that was the sign of giving someone a lock of your hair was like, like a promise ring. It was like a big deal. And so he wants to go inside and profess love to Eleanor, but he can't because he made a promise when he was like 16 years old to someone else, and he has to honor that that engagement. Now, the other thing that I'm seeing here, and the way that I feel like this is interference, is because, again, Emma was the interference here, Lucy Steele was the interference here. But above Edward, we have the Seven of Swords. And the Seven of Swords is that real sneaky card. It's someone being, it's someone betraying. It's someone being manipulative. And what it is that her name is escaping me. It's Aunt Norris. There we go, Aunt Norris. And this is from, I'll put it up on the screen, but why am I drawing a blank? Fanny Price from, yeah. But basically, she's very manipulative. Like, unfortunately, she is the aunt who kind of, she's the person who's in the ear of the uncle who, you know, takes care of everyone. She basically contorts Fanny, you know, she manipulates the situation in order to have things go the way she wants them to go. So here, I am getting a sense that, I'm definitely getting a sense that your delay, like, I do think that something mysterious happened. You felt a great connection to someone. You put a lot of effort into it. That effort was not reciprocated. It left you scratching your head. You finally got forced, after putting more effort in than you should have, you finally got forced to pull back and to evaluate the situation. And where you are presently is you pulled back and you said, okay, I'm gonna put a boundary in place, and I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna take care of myself. And you're finding contentment in your life. You do still think about this person. I think this person definitely follows up on you. They either know about you through friends, or they're watching you somehow through your social media channels. But and they also see how good you are. You know, I do think this person does love you. They like you, and they admire you for, I really feel like they admire you for the hard work that you do. Also, with this many coins, it's possible that you might work with this person. But the future, well, guys, the future of it, and again, we got 2 more 7s. We had the same 2 7s in that, too, in the middle deck. But the future is a little bit unclear, because I do see very clearly that I think the Knight of Coins is the slowest moving knight. I think this person really, really wants to be with you, but they have a lot of interference. They really, it's going to take a lot of work to get to this happily ever after. I think this person wants to be with you, but I do think that, I do get a sense that it's some kind of person interfering, you know, and it's like they have to deal with this person. The other thing is that it could be someone that they owe money to, but either way, it's with him touching the ring, it's definitely, the other thing that I'm kind of getting is that I think this is some kind of commitment that stemmed from back when they were way younger. Like, it's something that's kind of followed them around, right? And, you know, in order for them to make it right, they have to really, the other thing is they're going to have to work really hard. But I think there is a possibility that this could work out. It would just take some time. It would really take a lot of time. The other thing is that this person would really have to prove that they're trustworthy. Because the other thing is that in all of these situations, you know, also with Sense and Sensibility, I know it was true love and all, but, you know, the fact that Edward, you know, was kind of flirting with Eleanor and made no mention that he'd been engaged for 4 years, it was like, okay, you know what? You know, you could have been a little bit more forthright than that, but with the Mrs. Norris, you know, this could quite possibly be a family member. It could be a family member that, you know, is involved, and it could, with all the pentacles, it could be something financial. It could be a financial obligation that they, I'm not seeing the Six of Pentacles, which we had a tarot on last week. But it's not completely, the other thing is that in all of these stories, and of course with all Jane, you know, they did come back to each other in time, right? They did surmount the obstacles, and you know, Robert came back to Harriet, and you know, Edward did finally get to Eleanor. But it's amazing that in both those stories, and especially within this Mrs. Norris being the Seven of Swords, there's somebody who's in the middle of this. And that's also why your person is acting so strange, is because it's not just cut and dry, like, okay, I can come up to you and say, I'm sorry, let's be together. It's a lot more complicated than that. Now, your advice is you got to make the best of it. And that's such beautiful advice, guys, because honestly, I don't even think that you need that advice, because I think you already are. Again, you know, with the Seven of Pentacles and Eleanor Dashwood, I mean, again, I would say this, guys, if you are having kind of a sad moment and you feel like, you know, how do I make the best of it? You know, this is taking forever. I'm feeling really stifled. I'm feeling really, you know, waylaid. What you could do is, if you get a chance to watch the BBC version of Sense and Sensibility, it's a little bit of a long one. It's like 3 hours. It's like a mini series. But if you watch the actress who plays Eleanor, she just does such a fantastic job. But I do get a sense like this is hard. You know, again, the Seven of Coins is that hard work, but you have planted the seeds, and again, you're at the 7, you know, you're 3 coins away from the 10, right? So don't, you know, if you feel, all I can say is that I also feel like in this situation, what you're doing now is the right thing. Just pull back and do you, care about your own happiness, make the best of it, you know, do the best, try to be happy. And I know that's really hard when you feel like all this mess has been going on, but I think this other person, if you are missing someone, I do think this other person is missing you too. Because I mean, seriously, guys, when you look at this, you know, look at her staring at him from a distance, and then, you know, look at Edward, you know, waiting outside the door for Eleanor. I do think that's your person. I just do. I think that there's something in the way here. And in the meantime, you worked hard, right? Those Seven of Pentacles were hard work that you did. You invested, right? So you know, try to make the best of it, and definitely, you know, take care of you. The other thing is with the Queen of Pentacles, she's very good about, you know, taking her care of her body, you know, eating good food, and, you know, enjoying what she has around her. All right, guys. So, wow, that was a powerful one. The How to Tarots always do run a little bit longer, but I hope you enjoyed. I do host this every Tuesday. Every Saturday, I do a weekly energy card reading, so I would be very honored if you would join me for that. It's just a quick 3-card spread, also 3 tarot decks, and we just see what the energies will be like for the next 7 days. I will definitely continue to use different oracle decks to help flesh out our reads. And I do look forward to trying to do another pick-a-pile soon. If you have any ideas or any themes that you would like to see, please leave it as a comment. And as always, I would be very honored if you would like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you later. Bye.